Welcome to Mental Flight, where bold ideas take off and untold truths soar beyond the limits of ordinary thinking. Then fasten your mind, you're cleared for takeoff. The world of politics can often feel like a never-ending game of power moves. But every once in a while, something happens that truly flips the script. That moment came when Ibrahim Traoré, the young and determined leader from Burkina Faso, unveiled his bold vision for Africa's financial future. It wasn't just another speech filled with empty promises. This was different. This was a plan, designed to shake the foundations of how money, power, and influence flow across the globe. And the reaction was clear. Donald Trump, a man known for his confidence and sharp words, was left completely shocked. For decades, Africa has been treated like a playing field where bigger powers call the shots, from controlling resources to influencing financial systems. The continent has often found itself tied down by rules it didn't make. Traoré, however, has been breaking that mold. Standing tall and confident, with his muscular frame and commanding presence, he presented an idea that didn't just challenge the West's dominance. It gave Africa the stage to finally claim its rightful power. He called it a money plan for Africa, one that would keep wealth inside the continent, strengthen local economies, and push back against the cycle of dependency that has lasted far too long. Imagine the scene: leaders, analysts, and journalists expecting another typical political discussion, only to hear Traoré boldly declare that Africa no longer needs to play by someone else's financial rules. He spoke with fire in his voice, his words carrying the weight of millions who have longed for true independence. The room shifted, eyes widened, and for perhaps the first time, even Trump, who thrives on being the loudest in the room, seemed lost for words. What makes this moment so powerful is not just the political clash, but the deeper meaning behind it. Traoré represents a new wave of African leadership, confident, unapologetic, and determined to take back control. It's not just about money, it's about dignity, pride, and a future where Africa sets its own course. People across the continent are tired of seeing their nations rich in resources, but poor in opportunity. This plan is about rewriting that. Storied shockwaves of Traoré's announcement didn't just stop in that room. Across social media, across news outlets, and in everyday conversations, people began to feel a new energy. A sense that Africa is rising, and this time, it's not asking for permission. Trump's stunned reaction has only added to the drama, making it clear just how disruptive this idea really is. After all, when a leader who thrives on power struggles finds himself caught off guard, something groundbreaking is happening. This moment is more than politics, it's history, unfolding before our eyes, and it's hard not to feel a rush of excitement watching Africa stand tall, ready to reclaim its place on the global stage. Traoré's plan is bold, it's risky, and it's sure to spark debates, but it's also a spark of hope, a reminder that real change often comes from those who refuse to accept the limits placed on them. When a young African leader like Ibrahim Traoré steps up and presents a bold money plan, the entire world takes notice. It is not just another political move or an economic policy buried in technical details. It feels more like a roar, statement that Africa is no longer willing to sit silently in the back row while others dictate its financial destiny. The way global leaders reacted to his announcement tells you everything you need to know. They were shocked, caught off guard, and perhaps even a little nervous, because for decades the balance of financial power has been heavily tilted in one direction. And Traoré is openly challenging that old order. Imagine the scene for a moment. World leaders used to carefully scripted speeches and diplomatic language. Suddenly hearing a young African president, a man still in his 30s, confidently laying out a vision for an independent financial future for Africa, that kind of energy is rare, and it shakes the room in ways statistics and charts never could. The boldness in his voice isn't arrogance. It's the voice of a continent tired of being undervalued. You can almost feel the frustration of past generations' leaders, who tried but were silenced, being released in his words. Global leaders are not used to this tone from Africa. They are used to deals that keep Africa tied to old systems, bound to currencies and financial structures designed elsewhere, far from African soil. But here's Traoré saying openly that Africa deserves its own currency, its own financial backbone, its own system that cannot be manipulated by outsiders. That hits differently. It feels like watching history being rewritten right in front of you, and the shock on the faces of global leaders says it all. They didn't expect it. They didn't prepare for it. They certainly don't know how to stop it. The brilliance of his plan lies, not just in the economic strategy, but in the symbolism. Money is not just paper. It is power. It is sovereignty. It is pride. For too long, African nations have been using systems that keep them dependent. Traoré is essentially saying, no more. His bold money plan is about more than economics. It's about dignity. It's about giving Africa the same chance to stand tall as Europe, as America, as Asia, and that is why global leaders are shaken. They realize this is not just rhetoric. This is a movement. Think about how ordinary Africans must feel hearing his words. For many, this is the first time they've heard a leader talk about money and power in a way that truly reflects their hopes. It gives them a sense of pride, a feeling that finally someone is not only listening, but also acting. The excitement is real because when you're used to seeing leaders bow down to foreign pressure, watching a young man stand up to the world feels electric. Of course, shock is only the beginning. Once the dust settles, the real questions begin. How will global institutions react? Will they try to block his vision? Will they pressure him, isolate him, or attempt to undermine his government? These are the realities of challenging the global order, and Traoré knows it. But the fact that he dared to announce such a plan proves that he is not afraid. That kind of courage spreads fast, inspiring not just people in his own country, but across the continent. When leaders in Europe or America look at Traoré, they don't just see one man. They see the possibility of a domino effect. If one African nation succeeds in breaking free financially, and Trump's reaction makes the story even more powerful, because Trump is not just another politician. He represents a style of leadership that thrives on dominance, on always having the last word. And here was Traoré, a young man from Burkina Faso, delivering a financial plan that cut through all that noise. You could almost see the moment Trump realized this wasn't just another speech from Africa. This was a rallying cry for independence, sovereignty, and pride. For once, Trump didn't have a quick comeback. That silence felt like recognition, kind you can't put into words. The brilliance of Traoré's financial vision lies in its humanity. He doesn't talk about money as numbers on a spreadsheet. He talks about money as freedom, as dignity, as the backbone of a nation's future. He speaks with the raw honesty of someone who has seen what dependency looks like and refuses to let his people endure it any longer. And when leaders like Trump hear that, they know it's not just about economics. It's about a shift in power. Money is the language of influence, and Traoré is making it clear that Africa is ready to speak for itself. For ordinary Africans, this vision is more than politics. It's hope. It's a reminder that they don't have to accept being trapped in systems that were never designed for their prosperity. They can have their own banks, their own trade networks, their own currency that reflects their worth. You can feel the pride swelling in people when Traoré talks. The sense that finally someone is putting their dreams on the table for the world to see. And when even a global figure like Trump is left without words, it only amplifies that pride. It tells Africans that their fight for financial independence is not only possible, but already shaking the halls of power. Global leaders are watching carefully and perhaps nervously. Because if one African nation truly breaks free financially, the ripple effect will be unstoppable. Others will follow, and soon the entire continent could be writing its own rules. That is the power of vision. It spreads, it multiplies, it inspires. And Trump's silence in that moment was more than just personal surprise, it was symbolic. It was the acknowledgement that Africa's voice can no longer be ignored. The fact that this vision came from a leader as young as Traoré only adds to the shock factor. He doesn't carry the weight of decades of compromise or hesitation. He carries the energy of a generation that is no longer afraid. His financial vision is bold because it refuses to play it safe, and that's exactly why it works. It unsettles the old guard, it excites the youth, and it sets in motion a new conversation about what Africa can achieve when it refuses to bow down. Trump's silence, rare as it may be, has already become part of the story. It represents the moment the global stage realized that Africa is not asking for permission anymore. It's declaring its independence in the language the world understands best: money, trade, and power. And that declaration, once spoken, cannot be taken back. There are moments in history when the course of an entire continent begins to shift, when you can almost feel the ground moving beneath your feet. Today, Africa stands at one of those turning points. A moment not just about politics or money, but about independence, dignity, and pride. For generations, Africa has been defined by others. Foreign powers drew its borders, dictated its economies, and extracted its wealth while its people were left to survive with what little was given back. That painful history is still alive in memory, and yet, there is now a rising wave of determination to break free, to take control, and to finally build a future designed by Africans themselves. At the center of this shift is a bold new spirit, led by young leaders like Ibrahim Traoré. He is not speaking in whispers or asking politely for change. He is standing firm, demanding it with the confidence of someone who knows his people's worth. When he speaks about independence, it isn't just about political sovereignty on paper. It's about real independence, the kind that shows up in the way a nation feeds itself, trades with others, and controls its own money. For too long, Africa's pride has been tied to systems that were never meant to benefit Africans. That's why this turning point feels so powerful. It's not just talk anymore, it's action. You can feel the energy shifting.